Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the webinar. My name is Kabelo Sentsumedi. I am a senior technical consultant for CCS. It is my pleasure to present this webinar to you. Today, we will be discussing production and man-hour codes in Candy, which are often underutilized and are sometimes used incorrectly. This webinar is aimed at giving you a better insight into using production and man-hour codes. I will aim to keep the webinar within the allowed time frame of approximately 40 minutes. Due to the large number of people logged into this webinar, we will not be able to answer any questions during the presentation. However, please submit your questions during the webinar with the provided function on screen. Afterwards, we will collate these questions and send the answers to everyone that registered for this webinar via email. Please note that the webinar will be recorded and you will receive a link to download it. We plan to host a webinar once a month on various Candy topics. Should you not be able to attend the webinar at the given time frame, then please still register for the webinar, as you will automatically receive a recorded copy of the webinar. Now, without further delay, let's get started. Let's have a look at the topics for today's webinar. Production codes. What are production codes? How to define and allocate production codes. Man hours. What are man hours? How to define man hour codes. And lastly, reports. Production codes reports as well as man hour reports. Production codes will be the first focus for now. And I will start by defining what are production codes. Production codes are allocated to resources for analyzing productive outputs of bill items, focusing on productive resources like labor and plant. Production codes will group all the labor or plant hours per bill item or trade, as well as tasks. Production codes are single character codes allocated to resources together with the production factor. The production factor is used to convert the usage of resources from the resources units to the production codes unit for analysis and reporting. Benefits of using production codes. By using production codes, you can generate analysis reports such as bill production rates and extract the following factors: cost per unit, labor or plant hours per unit. The analysis reports will highlight the value of production-based cost for tender finalization. The analysis reports will give the project team a benchmark to manage post-tender productions. How do we define and allocate production codes? Production codes are defined under the definitions and settings, also known as the blue hammer. And after you've defined your production codes, the next step will be to allocate them to resources. And to allocate these production codes, we then go to the document manager under estimating. We select the resources tab and document 1.8 production codes and factors. the production code column for allocation, as well as the production factor column to convert daily resource unit to hours. I will now open Candy and demonstrate the whole process of defining and allocating production codes on one of my demo jobs. Under Estimating Application tab, access the Estimating Definitions and Settings, which is the blue hammer. Under 4.6, it's Production Codes. Up to 52 production codes using both 26 uppercase and 26 lowercase letters can be defined. The codes can be typed in if they are job specific, or it can be copied from a master. I will now define 5 production codes with their units. Capital letter A, unskilled man hours. Units, it's in hours. My second code, capital letter B, for skilled man hours. Unit is in hours. My next code is capital letter C for haulage, plant days. Unit defined as days. Capital letter D for all my earth moving plant hours. Unit in hours. And lastly, capital letter E for operator hours. After defining my production codes, I need to allocate these production codes. For allocation, open the estimating document manager known as the Blue Book. Change from Estimating Bills tab to Resources tab. And open document 1.8, allocating production codes and factors. I will now open all relevant resources which I will be making allocations. For allocating, you can either double-click under the production code column in line with the resource you would like to make an allocation to. Unskilled. You can also type it in manually to any of the resources you would like to allocate the codes to. So I'll quickly make my allocations for both labor as well as plant. Earth moving plant hours, and my last resource under plant earthworks, I will allocate earth moving plant. Now I've allocated my production codes. For example, code A, unskilled, with a rate per day. The conversion factor will be applied. If my unit of resource is in days, I need to convert it to hours. I will apply my working hours per day as a factor to the resources. My next code C, the unit is in days. As you can see, the resources are also in days. And my earth moving plant, it's in hours. And if this resource is in days, for me to convert it to hours, I will apply a factor of 8.5. Now that I've defined and allocated production codes, let me explain man-hour codes before viewing the reports. What are man-hours? Man-hours are automatically priced into bill items via resources. Man-hours are a special case of production codes. For example, you may differentiate between skilled, unskilled, and operator as a production code, but want to combine all three production codes when reporting man-hours. How to define man-hour codes? Man-hour codes are defined under the definitions and settings, also known as the blue hammer. I will now switch back to Candy and demonstrate. To go and define my man-hour codes, I'll access the estimating definitions and settings, the blue hammer. And select 4.7 man-hour codes. Now, man-hour codes make it possible to group together up to 8 production codes in order to produce an overall figure for man-hours. So up to 8 production codes can be selected together with a column heading, which will be printed on the reports, and the total of these individual man-hours will be summed to produce the total man-hours. I will quickly rename my heading. That's going to total all my man-hours and select to sum my unskilled, skilled, and production code E for operator hours. Now that I've set the man-hour codes, let's have a look at some reports. Under reports, we will look at production codes reports. I will print the following reports: bill production rates based on the trade for concrete, bill production rates report based on a trade summary, and project codes production rates based on activity or task. And then lastly, we will look at man-hour reports, man-hours on worksheets, man-hours per bill item, and man-hour forecast for linked activities and BOQ items. For reports, I'll access the Estimating Report Manager. And select the Resource Analysis Reports. Bill Production Rates, report number 18 in brackets. Customize bill quantity, and I'll make sure that under code selection or bill order using bill quantity, select all pages, and I would like to select a specific trade for concrete. Bill as well as summary. Under options, it's always advisable to select up to 3 decimal. Click on OK. Select concrete. And preview. Looking at item L, the bill quantity is 1,950 cubes. The number of unskilled man hours allowed to do this work, it's 5,314 hours. Therefore, you have allowed for 2.725 hours of your unskilled per cubic meter of concrete, or conversely, you must pour 0.367 cubes per unskilled man hours. The cost per unit in this case, 51.68 is the net cost per cube, which is generated by those resources to which the unskilled man-hour production codes has been allocated to. If I scroll to the second page, because my selection was based on the concrete trade, it will give me all the resources that I've allocated my production codes with the total hours and the total man hours. Which will sum up my production code A, all my unskilled, B, skilled, as well as operator hours, giving me a total man hour for this trade of 17828. We can also print the same report with the man hour totals per trades. I'll customize the very same report. Select bill quantities. Because I want to print for all the trades, I will untick, select trades, and select summary only. Click on OK and preview. Right, so notice every trade will show the unskilled and plant days or hours, as well as the total man hours per trade. The last page, if I scroll to the bottom, will display a summary for all the trades, which will give me 95251 total man hours for all the trades. Next report is my project codes. Project codes production rates, report number 29 in brackets. This is now looking at task. Customize. My code selection will be based on task. Selection will be all pages. Print cost per unit and number of decimal I have selected to 3 decimal places. Click on OK. And I'm going to type in my task code 0110, which is for excavation task. Click on OK. Selection of quantity, it's bill quantity. Preview. In this report, task codes or project codes 0110 for excavation, the quantity is 18646 cubes. The number of unskilled man hours allowed to do this work, it's 6,384 hours. Therefore, you have allowed for 0.342 unskilled man hours per cube of excavation. Or conversely, you must excavate 2.921 cubes per unskilled man hours. The cost per unit, in this case, it's 6.49, which is the net cost per cube, also generated by those resources which have been allocated the unskilled man hour production codes. Now, the calculated man hours can be printed on any of the following worksheets report. The individual worksheet, report number 4 in brackets. Customize. And you can print this based on any price code or complex resource code. Mine will be based on price code C2212, which is concrete. Make sure that you suppress printing dates, you print resource type breakdown. You also tick to print the man hours as well as the usage. Click on OK. Select worksheet type, net worksheets. Preview and try and zoom in to this report. Now you'll be able to see that the man hours based on this worksheet and the total man hours of 438 displayed under that column. The next report is man hours per bill item. I will take any of the new style BOQ reports, duplicate my last report, rename it to man hours per bill item. Customize. Select columns. Add or remove columns. And notice that all the columns relating to man hours are under 22. I'll put a double vertical line, select column 22.1 and 22.2 based on bill quantity. Click on OK and preview my report. Right, now notice under allowable man hours per unit, it's displaying 0. And it's because it's rounding it to a whole number. I can quickly exit this report. And to fix this, I'll go to the definitions and settings. Under 5.2, decimalization, you will see that the last option is bill item man hours per unit. I will change the decimal to 3 decimal places. Go back to my report manager and preview my man hours per bill items report. And it looks much better. The last report will be based on my BOQ that's linked to my program. Now, with a linked BOQ to your program, you can now be able to view your man-hour forecast. I'll switch from the estimating application tab to the link and forecast. And my program selection is my tender program, which is linked to my BOQ as reflected. Select my link and forecast report manager. Under my forecasting with BOQ link reports, I will take my activity with budget forecast. Duplicate this report and rename it to activities with man-hour forecast. Customize. Columns. Add and remove columns. Let me start by removing the activity focus net amount, the activity net amount, and the current start date. Under my available columns, go to number 18, linking by bill items, and 18.27, activity forecast net man hours will be selected. Click on OK, and lastly, I'll make sure under formatting, select fit to page width. Preview my report, and there's all my man hour forecast. Now this will give me a total for all my fan foundation section 2. If I go to the next page, it'll show me for my section 3, my substation, and the last line shows the total for both my section 2 as well as 3, my vent shaft and substation. I'm sure you will agree with me that Candy is continuing to be the leader in estimating and project control software. Thank you for your time, and I trust that you will find these features useful in your daily use of Candy. Please remember to email your local CCS office if you want to know more about these features. We will keep you informed of the next webinar, and remember, if you cannot join on the selected time, then please still register and you will receive the recording, which you can then watch in your own time. Enjoy the rest of your day and see you at the next webinar. Goodbye for now.